Meghan sees enemies everywhere, as he did too. And whereas he was meant that he was really finished with her, he'd had enough of her prima donna behavior, and that's why he's dumped her. But also for money, you need tens of millions of dollars. And what we're seeing is that she can't find a financial backup.
Sometimes the loudest alarm isn't a siren, it's the silence that follows. And when Meghan and Harry proudly announced the birth of their daughter Lilibet, that silence was deafening. Because something very specific, something that's been written the same way for centuries, was missing. You see, whenever a royal baby is born, there's always a certain sentence in the official announcement. It's been used for hundreds of years without fail. The Duchess was safely delivered of a son or daughter. Simple, traditional, and most importantly, it confirms the mother herself gave birth. But when Meghan's statement came out, that historic line had vanished. Instead, it said, Harry and Meghan have welcomed a daughter. Welcomed a sweet, harmless word, but nowhere near the same as safely delivered. People who understand royal protocol noticed right away. That wasn't modern phrasing. It was the quiet removal of the only line that confirmed Meghan physically gave birth. And for the first time, a question no one dared ask before began to spread. Why would Meghan avoid saying she gave birth to her own child?
Refused to touch her own baby. You heard that right, refused to hold, comfort, or even look at little Archie.
What came next made everything even stranger. So let's talk about what really disappeared here, because this isn't just about a fancy old sentence. This one line has appeared in every single royal birth announcement for generations. For centuries, it's been the same. The Duchess was safely delivered of a son, or of a daughter. That's it. Formal, proper, unchanging. It's the royal family's way of confirming the truth. It's never been altered, not even by one word. You might think, okay, so what? It's just old-fashioned wording. But no, that sentence isn't there to sound poetic. It's there to prove one vital thing, that the mother herself actually gave birth. In a world where the bloodline defines who inherits the crown, that small detail carries massive weight. So when Meghan and Harry put out their statement and those words were missing, people in the know immediately realized something was off. Welcome a daughter might sound warm and gentle, but it doesn't confirm anything. It just says there's a baby now. That's all.
Reported and examined and investigated.
A huge number of sources wouldn't speak to you, people who were aligned with Meghan.
That missing phrase, safely delivered, is the one part of the announcement that's never been changed. Without it, there's no official validation that Meghan herself gave birth. These things don't happen by accident. Royal statements aren't drafted in 5 minutes. Every single word is chosen with precision and approved before release. So, when a key sentence that's been used for centuries suddenly disappears, it means someone deliberately decided to remove it. And that one small decision raised an enormous question. Why? Why remove the one line that confirms the truth? Why replace it with soft wording that doesn't say anything definite?
And Prince Harry were living a peaceful fairy tale life in California, smiling with their children and free from royal.
Because what came next made everything even more bizarre. It wasn't just about Meghan and Harry's statement, it was about how the palace responded. Normally, when a royal baby is born, the officials put out their own notice, written in the traditional style. It's a historical document, factual, formal, and carefully worded to protect the royal bloodline. These records are the backbone of royal legitimacy. But this time, the palace didn't follow their own script.
But she did her best to prevent that happening.
Yeah. Now, let's go briefly back to her early life, and there was a lot of...
Instead of saying the Duchess of Sussex was safely delivered of a daughter, the palace simply repeated Harry and Meghan's version word for word. They echoed the same soft language. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have welcomed a daughter. Now think about that. The palace, which has centuries of unbroken tradition, just copied the Sussex's version. No independent statement, no official verification, nothing. For people who understand royal communications, this was a subtle but unmistakable move. The palace kept its distance. It's like when a friend claims they've won the lottery, and instead of saying they won, you say they told me they won. One version supports the claim. The other quietly steps back from it. That's what the palace did. They passed along Meghan and Harry's words without taking ownership.
Life in California. But the maid says with certainty, those moments were not real. She insists those scenes could not.
Those who follow royal protocol noticed immediately. The palace hadn't validated anything, they just relayed information. And that raised a chilling thought. If even the palace wasn't willing to use its usual formal verification, did that mean they didn't have the information to confirm it? Were they unsure? Or were they simply refusing to attach their seal to something they couldn't personally verify? Whatever the reason, the result was the same. Two announcements came out that day, one from the Sussexes, one from the palace, and neither of them actually confirmed that Meghan gave birth. And this wasn't even the first time. This strange pattern had already started years earlier when Archie was born. Back then, something happened that had never occurred in modern royal history. The palace released an official statement about Archie's birth in the morning as usual, but a few hours later, they quietly took it down. Then they uploaded a completely new version. Now, these birth notices aren't casual posts. They're checked and verified by multiple officials. Mistakes almost never happen. So for one to be pulled and rewritten, that's not a minor error. That's a huge red flag. People close to the palace later revealed that the issue wasn't internal. The problem came from what Harry and Meghan had submitted details that didn't match up, times that conflicted, inconsistencies that couldn't be ignored. Think about that. A royal birth announcement, a document of historical record, had to be rewritten because of mismatched information. That's not normal, that's unprecedented. These are factual documents meant to state simple, verifiable things. When was the baby born, where, and who was present? Yet somehow, what the palace initially received was so inconsistent it had to be replaced. And that's not all. The updated version still didn't look right. It lacked the traditional phrasing, didn't mention any physicians, didn't identify a hospital, it just vaguely said a baby existed, nothing verifiable. One odd thing could be a coincidence, but a rewritten statement, missing doctors, no hospital, and non-standard wording, that's a pattern. As if on cue, whispers began to spread. Where exactly are Archie and Lilibet? Why do they seem to have vanished from the public eye? The absence of photos, appearances, confirmations, it all began to look like part of a larger, carefully managed mystery. And when you look at how the royal family has always handled births with transparency, with clear documentation, this was completely unheard of. No other royal birth had ever played out like this. Now comes the question everyone keeps circling back to. Where was Archie born? It sounds like the easiest question in the world, but shockingly, nobody seems to know. Hospitals usually confirm when a royal baby is born. Doctors issue statements. There are photos, even just one of the parents leaving with the newborn. But with Archie, there was nothing. No facility confirmation, no doctor speaking publicly, not even a basic statement like, yes, the Duchess gave birth here. And in a monarchy built on bloodlines, that's not just strange, it's deeply unsettling. In the royal world, every tiny detail has a reason. So when there's no verified birthplace, no official confirmation, and not even one doctor publicly saying, yes, I delivered this child, it's not just an oversight. It's a silence that screams. That silence got louder with Lilibet. Because if Archie's birth was wrapped in mystery, what happened with Lilibet's paperwork turned that mystery into a storm. There's a tiny code printed on every birth certificate. Most people never notice it, just a string of numbers. But those who know how these things work can read it like a map. In California, every official birth record starts with 104. It's standard, consistent, unchangeable. Yet when Lilibet's record appeared, that code didn't start with 104. It started with 105, a completely different state. Now, that might sound like a small clerical error, but in royal circles, paperwork is sacred. Every digit means something. And here it was, one of the world's most famous babies, supposedly born in California, carrying a registration code that didn't match the state at all. And when questions began to swirl, the response was nothing. No clarification. No explanation. Just silence. Then came another twist that left people gasping. The physician whose name appeared on Lilibet's record, she quietly ended her medical practice just 2 weeks after the birth. No interviews, no statements, no proud mention of delivering a royal baby. Nothing. Think about that. For any doctor, bringing a royal child into the world would be a career highlight. It would mean honor, prestige, recognition. But instead, she walked away in silence as if the biggest moment of her career had never happened. At this point, people couldn't help connecting the dots. A mysterious birth certificate code, a doctor who vanished from her profession, and the same pattern of vague wording and missing confirmations that had surrounded Archie's arrival. And then came a story that made everything explode. A former worker from the Montecito home, the very house where Meghan supposedly spent her final months before giving birth, came forward, and what she said left everyone stunned. She claimed that during the entire time she worked there, she never saw Meghan with a baby bump. Not once. This wasn't a distant observer. This was someone inside the house, seeing Meghan daily walking, talking, working. She said Meghan looked energetic, normal, always moving around, but never visibly pregnant. Now, imagine how shocking it was for her later, watching the Netflix documentary, to suddenly see footage of Meghan with a large belly, looking fully expectant. She sat there stunned, whispering, "That's not what I saw. That's not what it was like." It felt like watching two different realities, the one she lived through and the one shown to the world. Of course, one person's account doesn't prove anything. But when a first-hand witness says something doesn't line up, and when that statement sits next to paperwork errors, missing doctors, and centuries-old traditions quietly abandoned, it adds to a growing sense that something about these births just doesn't fit. And that's when another old story resurfaced, something Meghan's half-brother once said years ago, a remark about a medical procedure in her past. He claimed it could change the whole narrative. Was it true? No one knows. Could it have been a lie? Absolutely. Family drama is messy, but in the shadow of so many unanswered questions, even rumors began to sound plausible. Put it all together, the missing sentence in the birth announcement, the strange registration code, the silent doctor, the worker's account, the palace's refusal to confirm anything, and you start to see a picture made of too many blank spaces, a puzzle where half the pieces are missing and the remaining ones don't quite fit. Now, here's where this story stops being gossip and starts touching the foundation of the monarchy itself, because there are 4 strict requirements for a child to be in the line of succession. First, the parents must be legally married in the Church of England. Second, the child must be born from both parents by blood. Third, the birth must be recorded and verified. And fourth, the most important, the child must be born from the mother's own body. That's why, historically, witnesses were present at royal births. Palace doctors signed documents, literally putting their reputations on the line to confirm what happened. These weren't customs for show. They were safeguards to protect the bloodline. That's why the internet exploded with theories. Because for centuries, the monarchy built itself on one principle: clarity of bloodline. Every birth recorded, every fact verified. So when all those traditions vanish in one generation, how can people not question why? And think about what that missing line in Lilibet's announcement really symbolizes. It's not just a change in wording, it's a shift in the very rules that define royal legitimacy. It's as if a door that was always locked suddenly swung open and everyone's pretending not to notice. The palace's silence might seem graceful on the surface, but beneath it lies a deep unease. Because when you remove all the confirmations, when the doctors stay quiet, when even the wording softens to the point of vagueness, you create a space for doubt. And in the monarchy, doubt is poison. That's what makes this so haunting. The system is built on transparency, on certainty. Yet here we are, left with questions that no one dares answer. Was it just a modern way of announcing births? Was it all innocent phrasing and coincidence? Or was something bigger quietly swept under the velvet rug? So maybe, in the end, that missing sentence the Duchess was safely delivered of a daughter wasn't a mistake at all. Maybe it was a message. A quiet sign that something changed forever behind those palace doors. And the silence that followed? Maybe that's the loudest sound of all.